Hello and welcome back to Quickies with Angela and Caity, where we keep it real, raw, and sometimes a little tear-stained.
I'm Angela Dawn of Authentic Heart Coaching. I'm a tantric sex coach and intimacy coach, helping people connect in their relationships and sometimes consciously unconnect too.
And I'm Caity Wilkinson of Caity Coaches, supporting women and their partners in reclaiming intimacy, clarity, and yep, pleasure, even during breakups.
So today we're exploring a topic that is really so close to both Katie's and my hearts, conscious uncoupling.
If you've ever had a breakup that was a total disaster, this one's for you. And if you've ever wondered if it's possible to part ways with love and respect, this one's also for you. So let's start with
Mhm.
the basics. What even is conscious uncoupling? This phrase gets tossed around a lot, especially after the Gwyneth and Chris divorce. What does this actually mean? What are we talking about?
Yeah, so this idea, I believe, really comes from the book Conscious Uncoupling by Catherine Woodward Thomas. So she introduced this concept to help people move through breakups and divorces in a way that's healing as opposed to destructive, which might be how most of us know how to move through a breakup, right?
It's such a
We
refreshing
usually want to
perspective, considering that most people assume breakups are going to be tragic and
just
awful.
like a blow up, a tragedy, right? Yeah. So this is about ending a relationship intentionally with love and awareness. So not ghosting, not tearing each other down, not pretending everything's fine when it's not, right? But showing up with your whole heart even when things are hard.
Yes, and it's not just a nice breakup. This is a transformational process.
Right. So the book walks you through five key steps that are all really about emotional maturity. Step one is finding emotional freedom so that you're not just reacting from a place of pain. Step two is reclaiming your power. So instead of falling into either blaming or victimhood, you're in your own power. Step three is breaking the pattern. So, really understanding why things didn't work so that you don't repeat it in the next relationship. Step four is becoming a love alchemist. So, transforming your hurt into true growth. And the last step is creating your happily even after, right? So, especially this is important for people that need to be interacting after the breakup. So, folks who are co parenting or people that just want to stay connected.
I really love that last one, the happily even after, because maybe the relationship ends, but the love doesn't have to become toxic. You can move past that in a very honoring way.
Exactly. Yeah. Conscious uncoupling isn't necessarily easy, right? But it does mean choosing to separate out of that partnership in a way that still has some care and clarity and respect rather than chaos.
And this can apply to any kind of breakup. This can be breakup of marriage, situationship, polyam dynamics, friendships. There's a lot here that this can apply to.
hmm For real. Yeah. It's honoring the connection as it shifts instead of pretending that it never mattered, right? Like most relationship breakups tend to be a blow up in our society, and they just really don't need to be.
No, they don't. They tend to be so bitter in general. And like when people think back on the relationship, there's that, ooh, I don't like how it ended. I don't like how they did this and I did this. And it was the worst versions of ourselves. And we're going to pretend neither of us exists. But none of that animosity is necessary. In a lot of these cases, that can be avoided. So
Absolutely.
when we started talking about this episode, I was like, can I please tell the story of my best possible breakup? It's like, I want to talk about how
Yes,
to
you
break up
can. Yes,
better
you can.
because I still think back to this experience and it was just really powerful. So let me set the stage here. This was about 10 years ago in around 2015. My partner was in college. I had already graduated, a little bit of an age gap. I was slightly older than him. So
Mhm.
imagine, if you will, a men's college apartment. This was him, several roommates living there. No decor anywhere. It smelled like Old Spice Swagger deodorant and coffee. I doubt any of the soap bottles by the sink got much use when there weren't women around.
Hmm.
And so I had a bit of a reputation in his friend group because I was a little bit older than him and he was a little bit older than them. So it was like, oh, here's this older, kind of more mature couple, also where I had like an older sister vibe. I was
Hmm.
constantly talking about like sex and relationships. This was back when I had my sex blog. And so they would come to me to talk about these topics. And it was like, I love being an example. I love setting the stage here and kind of being a leader in this little micro space. So I don't think any of them would be surprised to learn that I did become a sex coach. But the actual breakup component of this. So we were
Hmm.
playing, this was game night with his roommates. We were playing Settlers of Catan. This was my first time playing it. And towards the
It's
end
a
of the
great
game,
game, by the way. It's a great game, by the way. I'm consider myself to be kind of nerd adjacent, so I'm very familiar with the game.
so I was just like, okay, I don't know if I'm ever going to play this again necessarily, but I got to make this one count. So we get towards the end of the game. I realized very quickly, I'm like, all right, guys, I say this to the roommates because I was kind of buddy buddy with them. I was like, listen, we all know he's about to win the next time this gets around to his turn. I'm very close. So you boys have a decision to make. Do you want him to win? Or let's all take him down and have me win instead. And they're like, yeah, fuck him. Let's make it happen. So they gave me the resources I needed and I won, even though I shouldn't have. And it was
Oh,
hilarious.
shrewd negotiation. Okay, the shrewd negotiation.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I
I
put my
love it.
everything into that one. It was hilarious. So anyway, normal night for us in the morning. He and I don't remember what sparked it necessarily, but like we both just had this deep realization that had been brewing for a while. Like there was nothing wrong per se in the relationship. It was kind of just like we both naturally started to feel like it was time to move on. And we had that mutual feeling of like, this is amazing and I adore you, but I gotta be honest, I don't think you're my forever person. And I was so grateful that we both had that realization around the same time because he
Mm,
instigated the discussion. But I was like, no, I 100% agree with you. Thank you for bringing this up. So I didn't have to start it. I'm so glad we're on the same page. And it was just like, this feels like we've reached our natural end here. And it was such a comfortable conversation. There was no blaming. There was no like, here's what I don't like
mm,
about you anymore. It just, I think it's the only time I've had a breakup that truly felt neutral and it was mutual. And it was just like, oh, can
mm,
this really be that easy? Like, it was very bittersweet. There was a mutual grieving from both of us. Like there was a deep sadness over the conversation, but in a very peaceful, soft voice, like wholesome way.
mm.
And so naturally, I was like, when it comes time to tell your roommates, I need you to tell them this is because I beat you at the game last night.
Game is going to come back into the story. That's awesome.
Yep, yep, yep. And so even after that, like I loved being that example to his younger friends. And this was the relationship that actually started me on my policy in general now, where I'm like, hey, partner, if you ever want to talk about our sex life with your friends, you don't need to ask my permission. You can tell them absolutely anything because I want them learning from me. I know I'm a good example here. This is
Interesting. All
not going to
right.
derail me at all. So same thing. I was like, tell your friends about how the breakup went. I think this is another good example for them to learn from. And like, he and I are still friends to this day. That morning, we still got breakfast
Wow.
together. We chose to hold hands on the way there because we were like, it just feels too weird and too raw to not be doing this to break our routine immediately. How would you feel about this kind of softer approach to it? And that's
Mm,
what worked for us at
hmm.
that time. And it was just, it's so beautiful thinking back to that. So that's the story that I wanted to share.
Ah, I love it. I love that you got to tell the story. I mean, it gives people a real grounded example of how a breakup conversation can go if everybody's present with what's real and being honest. Yeah, that's really beautiful. It's not always that both people wake up to that same realization at the same time.
That was
You're,
lucky. That was very
yes,
lucky.
that was very lucky. That was definitely very lucky. Hmm.
Yeah. And so, Angela, you experienced this too, right? You and your husband had a conscious uncoupling?
So we did. I had not, I don't think I had even heard this idea of conscious uncoupling until it was when our teacher for our coaching program, Layla Martin, when she was breaking up with her long-term partner. And she was breaking up with her long-term partner right around the same time that my husband and I were negotiating our breakup. And so I was hearing Layla talk about it and hearing her use the term conscious uncoupling.
That was the first time
And
I had heard it too, was from Layla.
yeah, so I actually, she was doing some, I don't remember if it was YouTube videos or maybe it was on Instagram. She was recording and talking about how they were doing conscious uncoupling. And so I started sending those to my husband. And so that we could both kind of be on the same page, right? Because we were in relationship with each other for a long time. We were friends for years and years and years, and I kind of lost touch. And when we reconnected, we built a relationship, and he helped me raise my family. You know, it wasn't like something that we were taking very lightly. We had just come to a place where, um, what was next for our relationship felt different for each of us, right? So we had just sort of come to the end of the road together, and we wanted to evolve, and we wanted to be clear about how that evolution was going to go, and we wanted to do it with a lot of respect and tenderness. So it was really helpful to frame it as a conscious uncoupling, and we're on perfectly good terms. I could have, I would say that, I wish we were even friendlier than we are, but we're pretty darn friendly. Like if we run into each other, it's going to be like, oh, great, we have time to catch up, not, oh my God, I need to go the other way.
That must be
Yeah.
such a blessing because you especially rarely hear those kinds of stories from marriages
Hmm.
breaking up.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Really beautiful. So, why does how a breakup unfold? Why does this matter? And what makes conscious uncoupling different from just like my story, kind of the breaking up nicely?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I think going through conscious uncoupling as a process in some way is really kind of inviting healing into the space, right? Because you had that situation where you both were on the same page. And I would say to some degree, my husband and I were both on the same page. I think really he kind of pulled the trigger, as it were, but it wasn't something we had talked about before. And so I think if you're either on the same page or you just truly love your partner enough that you want them to be happy. And if they have decided that happy means not together, that's okay with you because you love them that much. Right. So if you can together work on that uncoupling, it preserves the dignity of the relationship, right? It preserves the love that you had and how important that was to both of you. And then you just have to take that love into a transformation rather than a collapse, right? Like when people break up harshly and they've been together for a long time and the breakup is really harsh, there's just so much collateral damage, right? And that's definitely not something you want if children are involved in that breakup. The fighting between parents in a breakup can be devastating to the children, so especially if kids are involved, you don't want that collateral damage. If you're navigating shared community, right? If we both have the same friends, right? Or if you're in the same poly network or, other long-term entanglements together, it's so much easier if you go through the process to heal together through the breakup rather than have it be a harsh thing.
It allows for a much more wholesome grieving process there too, and very
Mhm.
intentional about it. And honestly, it's just such a gift to your future self because it helps you move forward without dragging that wreckage of your past.
Hmm. Hmm.
You don't have that same
So
weighty baggage.
Yeah. For real, for real. It definitely eliminates some of the baggage. So let's talk a little bit with our listeners about what this actually looks like, right? Like, so what are some ways that people can begin to consciously uncouple? And these are my tidbits. Don't rush the conversation, right? Give it space. Um, oh my gosh, absolutely no text breakups. That is the
Oh, I've
worst
done that. I am
idea.
absolutely guilty of that.
Oh, everyone's done it.
It's
I
brutal.
dare you to find someone in the modern day, someone under 50 who hasn't done a text breakup. Um, yeah. And yelling at each other. Oh my goodness. No, no. In fact, everybody should go back and listen to our last podcast about how to have a difficult conversation with their partner for some strategies there, right? That is how you have a proper conversation.
Yeah, there's never any reason to need to yell at a partner, even if it's during the breakup. No reason whatsoever.
No, never any reason to. And yeah, so you're not going to rush the conversation. You're going to go back and listen to our last episode about how to have a difficult conversation with your partner. You're going to go back and listen to our episode on I messages because you are going to want to use I feel language and really stay with your own experience, right? So this conversation is about how you are experiencing the relationship, not about pointing the finger at the partner. You also want to name your intentions, right? Like, are you hoping to preserve a friendship? Are you trying to create a space to co parent from? Is this conversation just to have some closure? What are you looking for? And make sure in the process you're offering appreciation, right? It honor what the relationship gave you, even if it's ending. And then this is tricky, but be clear about your boundaries, right? So what's changing, what's staying the same, and what's needed to feel safe. And I think that's even trickier if, for example, you know that you want to stay friends, or you have shared friendships, or you're in a poly community. Being able to sort of name what the relationship looks like now can be helpful to check out the relationship anarchy worksheet if you've ever heard about that. You know, what do you want to continue to include in your relationship together? And just because one partner has certain boundaries, the other partner might have other boundaries. So, for example, one partner might need or want a certain amount of space before you try to perhaps rebuild a friendship. You know, have your boundaries, talk it out.
Yeah. And it's really helpful to figure out what is it that you want from this experience
Hmm.
beforehand. And then after you have the conversation, reassess that. What do I want? How did that go? Does that fit with their boundaries, with my boundaries? And don't forget, you don't have to do this alone.
Yeah. Honestly, like this kind of communication, it's super vulnerable. It's tender, it's big, and having some kind of support really matters. So, if you're navigating a breakup or a divorce or a conscious uncoupling, coaching or therapy can give you the space to process what's happening, right? That to be able to make clear decisions and show up with more love than with pain. And so, having your own individual coach or therapist can help you understand what it is that you really want, how can help you frame the conversation with your partner. And then if you all have been in coaching together or couples therapy together, it is great to do this with your coach or with your therapist, or at the very least, back into the session with the coach or the therapist after you've decided to break up and talk about how that's going to look, right? If you already have a guide with you, it's a fantastic opportunity to use that guide.
Coaching isn't about fixing the relationship. It's about supporting you no matter what stage you're in.
Yeah, exactly. So whether you're trying to separate, with care, or if you just need help figuring out what you want, right? That's what coaching can do for you. So if this episode hits close to home, you can come talk to me. This is one of the things that I hold space for with my clients every day.
And honestly, this is one of the bravest things that you can do to end something with love and to get support while you are doing it.
Yes, conscious uncoupling is about honoring how you end a relationship, because how you end things matters just as much as how it went. Mhm.
Right. This isn't just about breaking up, it's about evolving. It's about saying, this mattered, we mattered, you mattered to me, and I'm walking away with love and gratitude.
Yeah. So if you're in a relationship that's shifting or ending, or you just feel stuck in that what's next place, yeah, just know you don't have to do it alone. I actually offer something called a breakthrough session that is a 2 hour one-on-one coaching space where we can just slow it all down, look at what's really going on in your relationship, and help you get clarity on your next steps. So whether you're trying to repair, you're trying to reconnect, or you want to explore consciously uncoupling, this is where we can do that deeper work together. So you can book that at my website, AuthenticHeartCoach.com, or just follow the link in the show notes.
And for couples who are staying together and want to deepen their intimacy, especially those of you who value women's pleasure, don't forget we've got our Pussy Whispering class for couples. It's one of my favorite ways to help partners tune into what women's bodies actually need for pleasure, for connection, for turn on. You learn how to listen with your hands, with your heart, and even with a few other places too. So that's also linked in the show notes.
100%. And of course, I am here to help you out if you are staying together as well. In fact, I have a wonderful retreat info session coming up September 9th. You can find it in the show notes. I'm doing a retreat called Primal Love. And what I want to share with you is that this retreat is really about relaxing into relationship. So, allowing your relationship to progress naturally and comfortably without the need to kind of rush or force things. But on this retreat, I want to help you find that sense of ease that lets you really be yourself and lets you trust the flow of your connection. So that's what Primal Love is about. It's slowing down, enjoying quality time together, letting go of anxiety, letting go of expectations, and just having a beautiful time in a beautiful location.
Mm,
So there's support for you in that process as well.
yum. All right. And sounds like there's so much love waiting for everybody on the other side of whatever they're facing in their relationship right now or relationship future.
That's right. Thank you for listening to Quickies with Angela and Caity.
Subscribe, follow, and just come say hi.
You can find me at Authentic Heart Coaching on Instagram or AuthenticHeartCoach.com on the web.
And you can find me at Caity Coaches on Instagram and CaityCoaches.com.
We'll see you next time. And in the meantime, take care of your heart.
And your pleasure.